Hello everyone. So I wanted to do a video that's kind of reorienting a few things in terms of strategy and I think messaging that's going on both sides, I would say. I mean, like the Democrats, I have no idea what the hell's even going on with them. I mean, like Joe Biden is basically in the shadows. It's like he may do like a live stream or whatever once in a while. No one watches this stuff. I mean, I don't think anyone actually cares what Joe Biden thinks, to be honest. It's just not based like people are only attached to an anti-Trump view of things. I feel like that's all it is. It's like a vote of no confidence in Trump, and whatever you think of Biden, it's like mostly I guess the older, more moderate voters actually have a strong opinion about Biden. It's like at least from my perspective, like it doesn't affect what anyone thinks that is younger or is kind of like looking more into politics, I guess, from a leftist perspective. Um, but I don't know. It's like I think we need to refocus our strategy, give people a vision for the country to vote for, as I've always said. The stakes have changed this time, or around. It's like I think now that people have had a chance to see Trump as president, you know, it's possible an anti-Trump fervor alone could win the election for Biden, but I think that's not a given, and especially considering Biden is not a very strong candidate. It's the same thing as Hillary in that regard. I would say, like he's just not a very strong candidate, and is the dislike for Trump, like like even amongst his own supporters, like that's what becomes complicated. Is when you're an incumbent, you kind of do have a better chance at winning the election. You've already won, but at the same time, you're also seeing a drop off in turnout, and this is true for Obama too. He was a very popular politician, but there was a little bit of a drop off. I think if you look at the vote numbers in 2012, he didn't get as much votes. So when talking about like what Biden is gonna do, I feel like he almost like there's nothing he can really do. There's always going to be a contingent of people that they're too far to the left, and they like they're not going to get behind Biden no matter what he says. They're not going to believe what he says. But if he were to at least kind of co-opt certain left wing issues, like even if it was, he's got to be able to convince people. It's got to at least be coherent. But if he can do that and maybe get some people to think, okay, he's gonna do something that's beyond just like partisan, politics. Like I want power now. That's the kind of vibe that I get from a lot of these politicians. Honestly, just there's not much regard for what is actually going to be done to make things better for people. It's all just kind of like a play for power. Because like I just haven't seen anything of a significant message from Biden. There's nothing of substance for me to latch onto with him. So it's all just about basically Trump is bad, and that is basically what Hillary ran on. I mean, Hillary didn't have anything of substance. I'm sorry, substance to offer that time in 2016. So her whole strategy was that because like if you look at there was a Vox article I think that covered this, and like 25% of her ads, only 25% covered like anything of policy substance. So that's horrendous. Um, so like I'm saying, like a lot of these older voters that are more moderate, they came out in droves for Biden, and so what the Democrats need to do is do youth outreach, and the way we do that is, like I'm saying, like adopt some of these left wing issues, like Medicare for all would be one. Ending the wars, I think, would be a good one. And like I'm saying, like I think it's probably not gonna, like Biden's not gonna get behind these things in a very serious way. I think. I would hope that he does, but I just, I find it pretty doubtful. Um, we are, but I think we have to keep putting pressure on our politicians. I mean, we have to keep these protests up, and I think even if he were elected, if Biden were elected, like we have to keep protesting until we get real change enacted. Um, but we've seen some good progressive wins in New York. Jamal Bowman won his primary against Elliot Engel, who is a like pretty long time establishment Democrat, and that was great win there. I think Jabari Brisport he won his primary, and that was like a local or like yeah, like just like a state House of Representatives type of thing. So okay, let's get to what Trump is doing. Trump had his Mount Rushmore speech, and I didn't. I watched like a clip of it, but it definitely struck me right away because of the wording that he used. He talked about like manifest destiny and said like we reached out to the ocean and did our manifest destiny, like however he said that, and I'm like, this is insane because I mean, I know people would probably say like it's super nitpicky, is like really getting down to like the wording of what he said, but I think like that's such a dog whistle type thing. It's like so naked actually. Like what that means, manifest destiny, is you know linked to the Native American genocide when we just like completely went west and like wiped out an entire people. So these things they signify very specific things, and so when the president is saying that, that sets a bad precedent. Yeah. Um, so what he's doing in the speech, largely speaking, he I mean he at least did this for like 5 minutes straight. It was like he's just like listing things that are American and great, and like things that he has nothing to do with. He's like just naming people like, and some of them like he'll throw in are good, and like mixed in with like other people's like Andrew Jackson, Frederick Douglass, like who I don't know, but like he'll do all these like artists too, like Ella Fitzgerald or whatever. But just I think there is a degree that like the strategy could work, but it's only like to keep his base, like as much of his support as possible. That's what Trump has to do, is if he has to completely stop as much as he can bleeding support, and I mean it's probably true that he already has done that. I've like read articles going back like as soon as he became president that people were like catching on to things that he was doing as president, and we're like, yeah, he's not draining the swamp as an example. So it's possible that this anti-Trump kind of fervor in the country could work. It could work to win the election for Biden. I just don't think it's certainly too early to tell at this point, and especially again considering Biden's not a very strong candidate. Um, but there's a lot of things going on. I mean, just one small thing was Trump like retweeted this video of someone saying white power, and it was a pretty short video, so it's like, oh, maybe he didn't watch it with the sound on. It's like what the it's like a 10-second video of like protesters at this like conservative like nursing home whatever community, and this guy in a golf cart is saying like white power, and yeah, again, you even if you want to give the benefit of the doubt and say like Trump didn't see that, you didn't see the white power or whatever, like you have to see that that's reckless and not good behavior for the president to be doing. I mean, you have to acknowledge that at a certain point things get to be too far, and it's like at what point do you say this is enough now, because it just keeps going on and on, like all these different things that have happened throughout his presidency now. Um, but things start to get complicated when we're talking about Russia, because Russia is back in the news again. Surprise there. Um, but there's this story about bounties on American soldiers that are being paid by Russia, and there's supposedly Taliban fighters collecting the bounties. Um, so just seems very suspect to me. Or like even if it were true, it just doesn't even necessarily seem like something that is a really big story per se, because like it just seems like something that would probably be happening like throughout our time there, like in the war, if not from Russia, maybe Iran, as an example. But just like, yeah, like, so supposedly Trump knew about this like in March. I had heard, and so it's like the news is becoming big now, and in this reporting, and I I think it's such a like way for the Democrats to just bring up Russia again, for one thing, because like it's always their boogeyman. It's always their kind of excuse for saying like why Trump exists in the first place. It's like they try to make everything look illegitimate, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna blame, I don't know, like you're gonna blame Russia on the fact that we have the electoral college, because if you want to be honest, yeah, if we didn't have the electoral college, if we had a real democracy where the popular vote wins, Hillary Clinton would be president. So that has nothing to do with Russia. So it's really kind of ridiculous stuff, if you ask me. Like how this positioning goes with the Democrats, because to me, I think that the Democrats, the way that they approach this, is just kind of like, oh, we're the experts in the room and we know how to deal with Russia. We're going to be very even-handed and we're going to wag our finger and like maybe do a drone strike here and there, whatever. I don't know. It's like it's all kind of the same thing. It's not. I think that they care about the theatrics like just as much as Trump. Really, it's just they kind of want it done a different way. They think Trump is a very brazen kind of guy, and the Democrats, they're very, like I'm saying, like they think they're the experts. They're like the elite people that can deal with it, and I, to me, like, yeah, like I don't even know what they're talking about in terms of like we gotta push back on Russia, we gotta stand up to Putin. They don't talk about what that means. I mean, it's like some sanctions, and like, what is that gonna do? That's not gonna do anything. Um. So, anyways, it's just they're not coming at it from an anti-war perspective, which is important to me because it's like you you need to distinguish yourself from the Republicans. So if there's just no opposition in this country anymore, like even on the economic issues, a lot of the time they just go along with it. The Democrats, like, so the House voted against withdrawing troops from Afghanistan, and look, Trump, it's not even a full withdrawal. Like it's not as if we're just gonna end the war. Trump wants to withdraw some troops and get some good press. Let's be honest. So the Democrats block this, and it's, I guess, I don't know what they're objecting to. If they're going to try and say, oh, we need to do more, yada, 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 well, just take a little bit of, to take that little olive branch. It's like, if they're going to send some troops home, then do it. And then you can do anything else you want after that. But these Democrats, they don't even want to be consistent. They just, like, don't want to see Trump look good in any way, even if it means like you're not standing up for the right thing. So these are the Democrats that voted against this. 16 of them. Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut, I think. Tom Carper and Chris Coons from Delaware. Dianne Feinstein from California. Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire. Doug Jones from Alabama. Angus King from Maine. Joe Manchin from West Virginia, Bob Menendez from New Jersey, Chris Murphy from Connecticut, yeah, Jack Reed from Rhode Island, Jackie Rosen from Nevada, Jean Shaheen from New Hampshire, Kirsten Sinema from Arizona. I think she always gets like a lot of good press attention. She's like, "Oh, I'm a woman and I'm very anti-Trump. Yay!" But you have Mark Warner from Virginia and Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island. So yeah, like Here's the problem. I mean, like, this is just consistent thinking and logic. Like, if you're going to complain that Trump is supposedly not doing something about Russia, he's not standing up to them because they're doing these bounties on American soldiers. And it's like, oh, this is such a big deal. Well, then you're not going to support withdrawing troops from Afghanistan. That makes no sense. So you only if you only care about like just basically damaging Trump, and you're not gonna actually adopt a more left leaning approach to this, like it's not gonna work. Like they're just trying to be as centrist as possible. They want to skate by without like even touching a lot of these left wing issues. Excuse me. Joe Biden talked about like he's in favor of raising the minimum wage, but it's just like this is not enough. Like he needs to be much more bold in what he's trying to do, and it's just he's not even in the scene. Like he just doesn't. They keep him out of the news. That I mean, like he doesn't make a lot of appearances. He's like in his freaking basement or whatever. So it's the same thing as Hillary. It's like they kept her out because they knew that she was getting bad press. So I just think like when there's this void going on and there's just like not really a strong opposition to what's going on. It's only strong opposition so much as like, oh, we don't like Trump and we think that he's so obnoxious. Like, yeah, I get that, whatever, but like you have to actually make an argument on the policy. Like they are not actually bringing something of substance. The Democrats. So I mean, most of them. There are some good ones, but yeah, like we just need better leadership. And there's these establishment, old guard people that are just that they hold a lot of the reins of the power, like Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein's another one, Chuck Schumer, and there's more of them than like the Alexandria Ocasio Cortez's or Ilhan Omar's, Rashida Tlaib's. So something else that had happened. John Bolton is like suddenly a liberal hero now because he put out his book about why Trump is so bad and he's not standing up to Putin, right? Well, actually, if you read his book, there's this interesting excerpt where it says basically word for word. Like I'm not even really paraphrasing that much. Like the thing that made Bolton like think Trump like really crossed a line, and now he can't go along with Trump anymore. Now that he did this, he wouldn't authorize a strike in Iran. Trump wouldn't do this because there'd be too many body bags. And like, look, I think that Trump usually acts out of self interest. It's not necessarily a very coordinated decision. And that's something that the Democrats get wrong too. Like they make it look like there's this Manchurian candidate like dynamic between Trump and Putin and Russia. Like this is such a like hysteria level thinking. Like it is like McCarthyism, honestly, oddly enough. But so it's like if Trump wants to make a decision that is like gonna end up like with less civilian casualties for whatever reason, like if that's what's gonna be the result, then take that. Like they're acting like Trump is not already hawkish. Like he went after he assassinated Soleimani, that general in Iran, like in the very beginning of the year. We've been like waging economic warfare on Iran by sanctioning the hell out of them. I mean, like when we do these sanctions, like they really do have an impact. Like there's no medicine that goes in there, and people are dying as a result of that. So yeah, like it our foreign policy is really messed up, and so I think a lot of times like people that are within the intelligence community in this country, they just kind of like want the reins of power. Like they want things to be stable, and Trump kind of does make things unstable in the sense that he's off the cuff a lot of the time. And he's unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen. So they want that normalcy, and that instinct is kind of oddly enough like taking off with Biden. It's like that's why it's a weird race where he's like almost like leading, like Biden is leading in some polls. It's like how is this even going on? Like it's still like way too early to tell. To be clear, it's like it's not in the bag for Biden, I would say, at all. Um, but it's just okay. I think to and this just like the left needs to show that there is a strong devotion to ideas, and certain things that we're not going to back down from: Medicare for all, police reform, um, ending the wars. I think a very important one. Climate change. It's crazy to me that like we don't even hardly talk about climate change anymore with everything that's going on. Um, and another thing that's kind of become clear to me is like this idea of like symbolic change, like even the statues. Like I'm not saying it's like a big deal or anything. It's like I'm fine with taking down like a Confederate statue, or like Christopher Columbus or anything like this. But like it's ultimately like yeah, like you don't want to give support to those symbols, and especially like on public land. Like that is certainly not a good thing. So it's good to take that down. But if we get caught in like this idea of like that's all that matters, like this symbolic change, and kind of like the corporate logos and brands reorienting to like Aunt Jemima and whatever else, like that's not gonna you know make up for radical change. We need to do much more than that, and I feel like we're falling into that trap where it's like we're seeing all this stuff that like we didn't we didn't hardly even ask for. Like we wanted like pretty clear things for police reform. Like there's a lot of good things out there, like Campaign Zero, that have like specific proposals for police reform. So we just need to, I think, have a more organized message that is gonna be popular and show that it's helping working class and everyday people. Um, so there's always going to be people out there who are dismissive. Can't talk to that. Dismissive of what we're saying, and probably mostly conservative people. But I think if we show our strength in our numbers, and we have to like really just kind of take over the Democratic Party. I mean, like this, it's a little frustrating to me because it's like the Democrats have squandered a lot of their time. They've wasted their time on stuff like RussiaGate and what they did with impeachment. Like it yielded nothing. So we look pretty weak and feckless overall, the Democrats. So I think people get caught up in this idea that like, oh, things are so bad right now with what Trump is doing, the coronavirus pandemic, all the chaos with the police brutality protests that are like, oh, like there was some looting, and then like they pretended like that was still going on, like playing the same clips, except there's like way more peaceful protests than there are looting. So of course Trump's like threats and responses to that, like that's not good. So everyone thinks everything is so bad now, but overall, like the Democrats still haven't been doing the work they need to gain stronger support. Like there are going to be people that probably vote for the Green Party, or I don't know what else they do. Like Kanye is supposedly running for president. Like I don't know what that's going to be, but they need to do more to attract younger voters, because in terms of just the numbers, like going into this election, like Trump has to keep as much of his support as possible. He's pretty much already bleeding some support, but if he can minimize that as much as he can, and on top of that, Biden's voter turnout is relatively like lower than it should be, then that's it. It's like Trump will probably win if all those things hold true. So we need to, I think, approach this like it's like not like it's close, right? But it's like we have to like knock it out of the park, is what I'm trying to say. It's not like we should just like be trying to eke it out. Like we should really try and knock it out of the park. And like I don't know how we can really do that in this scenario. It's like we have to try and push Biden as left as much as possible. And I don't know what he'll be willing to, adopt into his platform. But I would just say a lot of these politicians, it seems like they're mostly there for the photo op. It's like the Democrats, like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all these people. They right after the killing of George Floyd, they came to Congress and like knelt down and wearing kente cloths, and it's like you were talking about like police reform, and then like it's just like nothing happened. Like I don't think like anything that significant got passed. There may have been like one law. Like I read from something online that there was like a Breonna Taylor law, which is crazy because like her murderers haven't been arrested yet. Like the people that killed her haven't been arrested, and there's this legislation about her supposedly. But I mean like nothing that is significant at all has been passed for police reform. Like we need to keep going on this issue, and the Democrats just gave up, and like they're all, I don't know, they're all obsessed with Russia. They're obsessed with whatever it is that they want to be doing. It's like it's all to me kind of just a power grab for them. Like I'm saying, like I think they really just think that they're the experts in the room, and they think that they're just smarter than Trump, and that's all that there is. Like we're the adults, we can handle this. We're gonna return to normal. Well, I don't think that's gonna be enough, and I think the protests need to continue even if Biden is elected. We need to get true change in this country, and it's like really kind of by any means necessary. I would say it's like however we can get economic justice for everyone and racial oppression, and just have a better society for people to live in. We need to have more better basic standards. Like like I'm talking about kind of like social democracy, like what every other country in Europe is. And some people, I guess, consider themselves more to the left of that. It's like, for me, I would just say, like, that's the minimum standard, That's the bare minimum. We need to provide basic dignity to people, like a roof over their head that they need. We shouldn't have homeless anyone in this country. Like, like, we have homeless veterans, people who fought for this country are homeless. We shouldn't have homeless anyone in this country. So it's really about priorities and how our society is structured. And we don't have anyone except like for Bernie who is attacking these issues head on and like really getting at the contradictions of them. That there just isn't someone in a good leadership position that's like about to become president because Bernie should have been the nominee in my opinion. But all we can do, I guess, at this point is just try and pressure Biden as much as possible, and hope that he doesn't, gaff his way out of winning and just like is a complete mess on stage when he's debating or whatever. It's like the best case scenario, basically.